To Tim Farron, the Lib Dem leader. I know you described yourself as sad and angry right in the middle of that Remain camp, Tim, but when you look at the picture that Jeremy's shown you, all those big metropolitan boroughs, all the places like Newcastle, like Birmingham, like Sheffield, that were expected to be solid Remain weren't. What went wrong then?
Well, I'm not all that bothered about doing a kind of an analysis of the individual nature of the results brick by brick. The reality is we wake up this morning to a Britain that complies with the vision that Nigel Farage has set out, and that's not the Britain I believe in. And whilst I fully accept the result, it's important to do that in a democracy, I do not believe for one moment that we should be turning our back on the kind of outward-looking, decent, inclusive, internationalist Britain that Liberal Democrats believe in. So this is a morning where I am, frankly, utterly gutted and heartbroken. Totally, it's beyond party politics, this, but it's also a moment where I think I am in no mood for giving up. I am in no mood for thinking this is the kind of Britain I am going to accept. The Britain I believe in, the Britain that 3 out of every 4 young people voted for, is the one which does stand tall in the world, that promotes prosperity, working with others, that wants to believe in building peace and being a good neighbour, not being isolated, fearful, angry and alone. So I accept the result, but by golly, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you accept it. When you talk about those who haven't voted to remain in the EU, your suggestion is they are not decent.
Well, what we've had over the last 20 years, I don't think that for 1 minute. The British people have every right to make the decision, and Liberal Democrats have a habit of not coming first in elections, and I absolutely accept the outcome. But where I do point the finger is over the last 20 years, people like David Cameron, Conservative ministers and MPs, every last one of them, who has cheaply derided the European Union for a quick headline, has stocked up in the bank this kind of well of distrust against the EU. And frankly, although I've stood shoulder to shoulder with people like Harriet Harman, Gordon Brown, Andy Burnham, great people who've pulled the shift in this campaign, I absolutely accuse Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour leadership of utter spinelessness in not getting involved in this campaign for Britain's very soul and very future. Well, this is a moment, I think, where British politics changes, where progressives who want that better kind of Britain need to start working together and to stop being spoken down to by the extremists in both the Labour and the Conservative parties.
You think Jeremy Corbyn's going to go, or should go?
I think he has let the country down massively. You look at those areas that did not deliver for Remain, they were the areas that Labour were supposed to deliver, and it was because of his abject failure to take this seriously that has led us into this position, along with the spinelessness also of a Conservative government that limped into this situation and couldn't present a positive argument. We tried hard, very hard throughout this campaign to be positive, uplifting about Britain's role in the world, and it's one of the reasons why 3/4 of young voters voted to Remain. What a tragedy that other voters have chosen to damage their future.
Truth is, David Cameron would have preferred, probably, not to have had this referendum. He expected, on one level, the Lib Dems to be stopping him.
Maybe he did, but the reality is that in the case of David Cameron and Boris Johnson, you've got 2 Conservative politicians here who have both taken positions in this referendum, both to have it and then indeed to lose it, from the Remain point of view, purely for their own personal career benefit, not for the country's good. And it's about time we had politicians who stood up for what was in the interest of the country, the whole country, and our role in the world, rather than just politicking and seeing if you can get yourself to the next election.
Would you be surprised if Scotland went for another referendum now?
Well, there shouldn't be another referendum in Scotland. There's enough chaos as it is, with the pound tanking. The last thing Scotland or the rest of the United Kingdom needs to add to that self-inflicted recession with additional internal disarray. Now is a time for unity. This is a divided country. Let's not make it more divided.
Thanks for coming in, Tim Farron.